a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
Welcome to the Road to the National series on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel. We are counting down to the 2025 National in Chicago, and I'm joined today by passionate hobbyist Dave Spinrad, the rated rabbi. Welcome to the Road to the National series. Dave, I enjoyed seeing you at the National last year in Cleveland. Was that your first National, Dave?
Oh, no, it was my third national. I went in 2, 3, and 4. It's great to be with you again on Sports Cards Live, Jeremy. I will not get to see you in person this year, unfortunately, in Chicago.
That is a disappointment for me. As I said, it was great to meet you for the first time. Now, we have done content together. You've been on Sports Cards Live in the past. We've had a relationship on Instagram in the DMs, which is a common way to get to know people these days. And again, Cleveland last year was great. I'm sad I won't see you this year. And, you know, this is a series of podcasts that I'm doing in partnership with the National Sports Collectors Convention. And it might seem a little bit awkward that I'm having you on, considering you are not coming to it this year in Chicago. But I thought that this would be a really interesting angle to take for people who are going to the National, maybe thinking about going, newer to the hobby, to hear the perspective of somebody who has been to a few, is not coming this year, maybe understanding why and what sort of feelings you're having about not coming to the National this year in Chicago. So let me first start by asking you, why aren't you coming to the National this year, Dave?
Well, as you can see by this beautiful California sunshine behind me, my family has come home back to the Bay Area. I'm going to serve a congregation starting tomorrow officially in Danville, California, after spending the better part of 18 years away from the Bay Area. So having just, relocated and starting a new position, it just was not in the cards this year. And I knew it wasn't in the cards for a while, and I just couldn't really admit it to myself. And then it finally became a reality. But you know what I think about is the National is for everybody who goes to the National, but then everybody who is in the hobby also has a relationship to the National. It happens whether or not you're there. I'm still going to have the experience and the feeling of those days.
And okay, so it's an interesting comment. And, I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to clarify. Here's what I think you're saying, because I watch from afar when people go. I did not go to several big shows last year, because it just wasn't in the cards for me. But I see the content. I see the content on YouTube and Instagram and X, wherever. And I don't feel like I'm there so much, but I feel like I've seen I've seen a lot. I've had a taste of what it would have been like. And so is that kind of what you mean, that you'll be following along with people?
I'll be following along. And I also think that our hobby has definitely, I'll on IG and I'll watch some of the live streams, but I also think that everything, including the hobby, has a rhythm. And just like a calendar year has a rhythm, the hobby has a year. I'm a rabbi, so I actually think of the National almost as the high holidays. And whether or not someone goes to, I know, right? But whether or not somebody actually goes to a synagogue and prays on those days, they happen, and you're in a rhythm of life. So to me, the National is the high point of the year. And actually for me, leading up to the National, not going, I'm still going through the same process. Right, the process for me is a time of reflection, right? Stepping back, looking at my collection, thinking about how I hobby, and then maybe making changes going forward. So it's interesting to be not going and still very much feeling the rhythm.
So let me ask this then. You're basically going to use social media in order to reduce your FOMO as much as you can for not being there. But now, considering that you've been to the National 3 or 4 times, you have had historical years where you haven't. You're prepping for this year not being there. What do you think is the biggest? What are you going to miss the most? What are you going to, what, I know you can't be there, and in your head, you're probably rationalizing, saying, I can't be there, so let's not get depressed about it. But what are you going to miss the most about not being at the National this year?
The joy, just the joy, just walking around and being with just we kind of divide ourselves into smaller tribes, but when we get together all in one space, the tribes all come together and we have this incredible hobby in common, and just the joy, right? Just the excitement and the enthusiasm. And I actually really would encourage anybody who's going, no matter how many times you've been, to really savor these coming weeks, enjoy that anticipation, and then just build it up and build it up and build it up. And when you go, that joy of being with your people, doing your thing, yeah, I'm gonna miss that, because there actually is no really replacing that being in person thing. Yeah, that's a big piece.
Well, let's build off of getting these tribes together. And let me ask, why do you think people do or should go to the National? And specifically, maybe someone who's never been there before. What would you say to, if somebody came to you from your congregation and said, Rabbi Dave, I am really interested in the sports card hobby. I'm hearing about it everywhere. I understand the Nationals in Chicago this year. Should I go? What can I expect? How would you advise someone from your congregation about potentially taking that leap, incurring the travel expenses, and going to Chicago for the National this year?
I would absolutely go. I mean, I think if someone's thinking about going, go. It's a bucket list experience, and we're lucky enough to have it more than once. Uh, there's no way to describe the incredible cards, their museum pieces. It's not just about buying cards, it's about walking through the displays, and uh the heritage display and the REA display, and just seeing the incredible cards that all together in one place, that you might not ever see one of these cards, but you just see card after card after card. And sharing in that enthusiasm is so worth whatever it takes to make it happen. It's not too late.
I think about a couple things when you say that. I think about immersion. I can watch a film. I can watch I can watch the Travel Channel and see what it's like to go to Paris or Rome or Jerusalem or Mexico City. But unless you go there, you're not really going to immerse yourself in it.
Exactly.
So I hear that as really one of the things that you're saying. And then you mentioned the displays at Heritage and REA. And I think about those. Now, I will say these are a double-edged sword. Here's why. You go to Heritage, you go to REA, the bigger auction houses, and you see all the items that they have on display. And these are items that are currently at auction most of the time. And those auctions are going to end maybe the Saturday night of the National or the weekend after the National. So you cannot buy those cards at those booths. But what you can do is look at some of the finest copies of some of the most iconic and important and beautiful cards in the world. And then you can walk through all the aisles and all the rows of the National and find, lower grade, more affordable copies that you can purchase. And you can talk to the people at those booths and ask them about those cards and why they're important. And maybe if this one's too expensive, what are some alternatives? To what extent, Dave, in your National experience, have you used your time there to become educated and to open your mind to other alternatives and maybe other lanes of collecting?
Oh, wonderful question. So I don't think you're going to expect the answer I'm about to give you. Is that I, in 2023, had the experience of like oversaturation. There were too many cars. There was too much, and it had this momentary but also enduring effect of temporarily. I didn't want any of it, or 99.999%. I don't want. So the outcome of that actually is I learned to become a better collector. right? So I took that feeling of like, ugh, and got very clear on about what I do like. It was a very clarifying moment. It helped me to not worry about what I didn't have in my PC. Although, Jeremy, that Fleer Ultra Stars Gold Shack that
Mm.
went off last, woo, it's not really in my lane, but that card just gets me.
Oh,
So, I know that must have been a tough one to get rid of.
that was
Yeah,
that was one of the tougher ones that I had to give up when I
yeah,
went through a big
yeah,
personal collection transformation earlier this
yeah,
year. But yeah. So
yeah,
it's interesting that you say, because I love that answer, but I think what I'm trying to dive into here is, you saw all these cards. It can be overwhelming for sure. So let's turn this into an advice moment. How
yeah,
would you, let's go back to that same person from your congregation in California that comes to you and says, I'm thinking about going to the show. You say, okay, I think you should go. What are
yeah,
you going to follow that up with in order to
yeah,
help them navigate the how overwhelming the show can be? Because it is big. It's a
yes,
5-day show. Maybe they're not going for all
yes.
5 days. Maybe they have a limited budget. What advice do you give them to navigate the sheer scope of this whole thing?
I think the most important piece of advice is to embrace the idea of that wherever you are in the show is the place to be at that moment. You by nature, if you choose to be here, you can't be anywhere else. And guess what? All those anywhere else's are also amazing. But if you're worried about what you're missing this breathtaking experience right in front of you. There's no way you can see and do it all, but if you can just try to be as present as you can with the people you're with, the dealers you're talking to, the cards you're looking at, just be fully present and let go of everywhere else you're not, or else you're going to not only not be there, you're going to miss where you are.
How do you, that's so interesting, Dave. How do you, in your role as a rabbi, as a counselor, an advisor, how do you, or I don't know if you've had the opportunity to do this, but FOMO is a real thing. I think it's a natural thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. We all have the
Yeah.
fear of missing out on, like you said, wherever you are is where you are meant to be. People are going to have FOMO about, they might hear from somebody else who says, I was just over at that booth over there and look what I got at a great deal, a beautiful card. And the person might think to themselves, I wish I got there first. In your role as a rabbi, how do you or would you advise people to manage the feeling of FOMO, really from a mental health perspective? And
Yeah.
again, within a show,
Yeah.
let's have the national theme here. People who are like you, people who are not going this year, and as
Yeah.
well as people who are but might miss out an opportunity while they're there. How do you advise people to deal with FOMO?
Good question. So it is a real thing. It is a real thing. We do miss out on amazing experiences. And to name that is number one. What I've found is the surest way to success, whatever that is to you, is to celebrate the success of others. Right? The surest way to happiness is to celebrate the happiness of others and to name it and not to be fake about it. But oh my God, Jeremy, when you got the Cracker Jack Joe Jackson, which we're all still talking about, right? Like, so happy for you. Not one iota of jealousy. I'm like, oh, this really great guy got this really amazing card. He's a friend. I'm so happy for him. And it elevates me. And when I'm in that state of mind, I feel like good things find me. Right. So I'm quite happy to have a friend who has that card. So the more I can celebrate other people's success, the more I can do that, the better I feel and the better things go.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that that's such good advice.
Yeah.
You might not be able to go to the national this year, but you're going to celebrate those that do.
Totally.
Now, you're not going to the national this year because you just moved your family after 18 years away from your original home. You're back there now. You
Yep.
start your new job at the synagogue tomorrow. So it's a really wonderful, and congratulations on all
Thank
your
you.
changes in talking to you. I know you're very excited about these things. So I just want to congratulate you on
Thank you.
those. But let's talk about the future.
Yeah.
2025,
Yeah.
Rabbi Dave Spinrad will not be at the national. We're all going to miss you. 2026, the national will be back in Chicago. is there, outside of something that we cannot predict, is there anything keeping you from joining us in Chicago in 2026?
Really good question. So we are in a new reality, my family here, and love it here, but we're also adjusting financially. Uh, Even though Northern Virginia had a very high cost of living, the Bay Area is even higher. And I want to make sure first and foremost that I'm, in integrity in my family, in my marriage. So that would really be the only thing keeping me from going next year. So, we just bought a house, kind of getting our feet under us this year. I think we're about to make it happen next year. Uh, the thought of missing two in a row, I don't want to talk about that. That one I can talk a good game, but 2 years, I don't think I could make it.
How much of a priority is it for you? I mean, for me,
Yeah.
Dave, I think about, my wife knows that the national, like, don't plan anything. If you have a friend getting married, you're going to find another date. I'm probably not going to come. If it's a family member, it might be a different story. But like, I'm not willing to miss the national. Let me rephrase. There are very few things in life that would keep me from missing the national. So to you, how high of a priority is it to get there?
It's a very high priority. It's something that I'll budget for,
Yeah.
all year long in my card budget, in my discretionary income and travel budget. It's something that I will probably, look to maybe buy a little bit fewer cards in the year to have a little bit more money to spend. Uh, it's interesting it's not a bad thing to have to make hard decisions, to say yes to this and no to that. So, it's still a year over a year away, but I can see myself saying no to some things I would have said yes to before in order to be able to come back and go strong. It's super fun. And it's also one of my all-time bestest, closest card buddy and buddy for life, Adam K. I bought my first packs with him when we were 7, 8 years old, growing up in Marin. He and I and his amazing wife, we get together, and sometimes another friend, West Coast Jewish Chris, also joins us, and walking the floor with those guys, going back to our Airbnb at night and opening boxes of junk wax and laughing and, just hanging out. Super precious. So I don't want to miss that again.
I'm glad that you went to the relationships, because when I was asking you about the priority of the national, I really was going to follow up with, and maybe you can still speak to it, is it a priority because of the social interactions, the further development of young relationships, established, solidifying established relationships? Is that why? Like, it's the sports card hobby, we love the cards. We are this unique group subsection of society that loves cardboard depictions of professional athletes and other historical figures. But the community is such a key part of this hobby. I don't think that I would love this hobby as much if I didn't have so many great friends in it, and new friends all the time, making new friends and building more relationships. I love that. Is that part of the big reason why? Is that a big part of the reason why it is a priority for you to go to the national?
Absolutely. And I think I think what you said, that the relationships piece is a particularly important point now in our society. So if we pull back from cards and just think in general in North America, we're living in a really fractured time. And it's hard to feel like we can be ourselves, get close, and people we don't know, and everything feels so politicized. Cards are one of the places where we can be ourselves. I don't care who you vote for. It's none of my business. We can let's hang out. Let's have a beer. Let's have a meal. Let's talk cards. Let's talk family. We have way more in common than we don't. So, not to get too metaphysical on you, but I do think that cards are a portal into relationship at a time when we desperately need them in our society. And then to go one step further, what are they called? Parasocial, like online relationships are one thing, but to sit next to you and get to know you, and it's just 1,000 times better. And that is we need to be talking about that in terms of why the National is so popular and so growing. It's beyond cards. To me, it's societal.
Yeah, I love what you said there. Cards are a portal to relationships. That is a wonderful quote, and it couldn't be truer for me as well. Okay, let me ask this. Let's kind of start to get to the end of this thing, Dave. You've been to the National, you've picked up a few cards. What are some of your favorite pickups you've had at the Nationals that you've been to? And really tell us why they're important to you.
All right. I got a handful here. First two I'm going to show you. I picked these up at my very first National when I was building the 1984 PSA graded master set, 1984 baseball all-star game. I went there when I was a kid. I made a whole podcast about the game and the broadcast. So I picked up at that first National I went to, I picked up honorary first pitch or first pitch. Can you see that? It's a 35 beautiful diamond stars. Carl Hubble. He along with Stu Miller threw out the first pitch.
Right there.
Love this card. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the
Beautiful.
other one I picked up that same year was 1940 play ball Hank Greenberg. He was the American League's honorary captain. So I built this 80, since expanded to 84 card master set. He was the honorary captain. And Jeremy, I I messaged you yesterday. One of the cards I know you were selling the 1941 play ball on the Fanatics auction last night, and I almost bid on it. I did throw out a low bid, but I just decided to sort of like hold off. I was excited because the provenance of having a card that you owned, I think that would be so neat. And someday, God willing, down the line, I think that's really cool. But so that's the first one. Same first National, connecting to your most recent National preview guest, Chris Hoge, at their card ladder booth in 2022. They had these homemade card ladder cards numbered out of 500. It's Tom Brady. It says Tom Brady golfer, San Mateo, California. I have number 132 out of 500. I got it at their booth. So that's kind of that's you can get such fun things like this. People always have so many great giveaways. And I remember it's like my first year back in the hobby. I was listening to a lot of those guys, right? And a lot of you. So that's a neat one. Second year, I was looking for a 52 maze tops. One piece of advice I would say to somebody is don't get too precise. Give yourself a little bit wider of a net. You can get awesome cards year round. So have a plan, but keep it loose. And let yourself maybe look for 6 to 8 cards versus just I gotta find this one card. Wasn't finding the maze I looked for. And what happened was at the National, I was on the floor. I got a message from a guy from the Vintage Wax and Packs group on Facebook who let me know that REA, speaking of, had an item for auction that I had been looking for. And just a sweet guy messaged me, hey, I know you're looking for this. It's in the new REA auction. So my budget on the floor that year changed. I saved all my shekels, won that auction. This is a real grail item for me. 1981 Topps football rack pack. It's got my all-time favorite player, Joe Montana, and Dwight Clark right next to him. The catch, both their rookie cards. Really amazing. So this is an example of an item that I found out about during the National. It changed my National plan, and oh my gosh, like if I could only grab 5 things, cards, that would be one of them. Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions before you move on. First of all, I have to just mention the Tom Brady card ladder card. I have that card in my collection as well. I picked up the card. I love at the National. There's been this new movement, it seems, where a lot of collectors, especially content creators, will have a custom card that they will bring with them in stacks and give away to their fellow friends. I've done that. I have a Jeremy Lee card that I had made that I'm going to be bringing to the National and sharing with people. I have enough that I'll save one for you for 2026 as well. The other thing, that rack pack you just showed, do you display that in your, well, you just moved, you're still unpacking. Do you have plans to display that in your home office, your rec room, whatever it might be moving forward?
Absolutely. I used to have a great cave, had a finished basement, new home, no space. The one really great room. My wife said, this sunroom is mine. So I'm in the planning stages of doing some garage conversion. Eventually, I will. I'll have it on display in a in a case,
Right. Yeah.
out of the light. Never let those things see light.
No, I love
Eventually,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I love that because you've had this experience. You have a grail type item. It's so great to be able to enjoy it on a regular basis instead of maybe pulling it out once every few months from
Yeah.
storage, whether it's external or you're somewhere in the house. So okay, keep going. You
Okay.
had more to go.
Got two more to show you. 2023, I'm at the National, and I'm not a huge autograph guy. I'm just, you kind of got to pick your spots. It's just not something that's overwhelmingly compelling. I have a few, and I think ticket stubs are really neat, but I'm not sure about ticket stubs to events that I didn't attend. I'm more
Yeah.
moved by things, they're amazing. There are some ticket stubs I'd love to have, but got to kind of say yes and no to certain things. Got to have boundaries and constraints. One of the greatest days of my life was in 2010. My brother and I was living in Cincinnati. It was the NFL Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony, maybe the greatest class of all time. It had Emmitt Smith and Jerry Rice in the same class, all-time leading rusher, all-time leading receiver. My brother came, flew out. We drove up together, went to the enshrinement together. So I've had the ticket stub. At a Chantilly show, I got Emmitt Smith to sign my ticket stub. And at the National, I got Jerry Rice's signature. It's hard with a
Oh,
little sun glare. Yeah.
I can see the Emmitt Smith on the left in like a
Yep.
silverish ink and the
Yep.
Jerry Rice on the right. Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
wonderful. And then you had it
Beautiful.
slabbed.
So I got it slabbed, really like a fun one to display, really so meaningful. Uh, and Jerry was such a sweet guy. Took time with me, and he's like, "Oh wow, this is not something I signed." I told him the story of being there, and what I said to him is I remembered part of his induction ceremony is he said, I never took time to enjoy the cheers and the applause. I was always so driven and so focused. And if you wouldn't mind, I would just love to hear the cheers one more time. And he stepped out from behind the podium, and the place went nuts. And it's like
Ah,
all these years later, it's still like with my brother, amazing. So this is a special item that if you want to get an auto, you will not find a better place than the National. It's just A plus plus.
yeah. What a great
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And
Then
and
my
the
yep.
memory, sorry, Dave, but the
Oh,
memory
yeah.
that you had that conversation, and then that was the catalyst for him to say, "Let's hear it one more time." It must feel special that you were able to bring that to him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He said, oh boy, it's not something people talk about very often. Like one of those, probably meant more to him than just all the other coming throughs. And it was really a special thing. And I can hear it in my voice right now. I'm not like awestruck typically, but that was a childhood hero, and that was a moment for me. Like even now, I remember like, oh, it's Jerry Rice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not awestruck, but you're verklempt.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, last one.
Sure.
Okay, here's a piece of advice I've heard it first, and I want to credit Leighton Sheldon, but I've heard lots of other people say it over the years. When you get to the National, if you are looking for a card and you see that card, buy that card. Do not hesitate. Don't walk around. Don't look for a better price, because the price of regret is way more than a few $100 in the long run. Really, have a friend or even a neighbor. People are genuinely there to help each other. You know the guy. Hey, what do you think about this? How do you like the center? What do you the ask? First hour on the floor, I walk up to Ash, Ashish Jain, great dealer. A lot of us know him, and really just a good guy, an honest soul. I came on my short list. I wanted a 54 Hank Aaron, the rookie card. I was looking for just the right one, not a hard card, but just the right combo of eye appeal and the right one.
Yeah.
Walked up to a table. and Ash had an incredible example there. So good. I messaged you also, if you have a buddy, have a card consigliere. So I texted my buddy Adam K. I said, I'm not leaving this table. Here I am. I gotta need your eyes on this. It's a big purchase for me. And while I'm waiting for him, I'm standing right next to Greg from Midlife Cards, and he was, and you hear him tell this story all the time. He told it on your show recently. At that same time, he was buying his 54 Banks rookie, which was his Grail card. So I'm standing right next to him. He had just purchased it. I'm super happy for him. I mean, I don't know him personally, of course. I'm just happy for him. I knew he'd won. He's celebrating with his guys. And Adam came over. We looked at it, made the move. So the same time that Craig got his, I got mine. 54 Hank Aaron, beautiful. You know what I love? I love a little back wear in the corners, right?
Yeah.
Just brings down the grade, but the eye appeal on this one is off the charts. Super cool. And I was actually standing right next to also Dan's Vintage. He was there with me, and we had a nice moment together. We knew each other sort of from the content, the podcast world. So like, I was feeling better about not going to National, Jeremy, before I walked you through those cards. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you never know. Well, some people, myself, I always look forward to the National because I don't know what I'm going to leave with. Now, you don't know what you might have acquired card-wise. You don't know what interactions you would have had, and you're not going to be able to have those in person, but that's okay. We can't have everything we want all the time in life. 2026 National will be here before you know it. That's just the way life works, and you will have some great opportunities to have further interactions, build relationships, add wonderful cards to your collection. That I think it's so cool that you and Midlife Greg both purchased a 54 Topps Hall of Fame rookie card, Ernie Banks for him, Hank Aaron for you. At the same time, at the same show, you will always share that moment, that the provenance on those two cards are connected, and they never knew that they would be now. Dave, nice. I think that is a great story. I want to thank you for joining me here on the Road to the National Series in partnership with the National Sports Collectors Convention. This is episode 7 of 6 episodes because this is a bonus episode. And again, thank you for everything that you do, for your presence in the hobby, your spiritual presence and advisement that you share with myself and other people. It's wonderful, Dave. Thanks for joining me here today. I'll miss not seeing you at the National this year, but I look forward to seeing you there in 2026.
Next year in Chicago. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for all you do for the hobby, Jeremy.
Thanks for tuning in and being a part of the Sports Cards Live community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and most of all, keep collecting. More great content to come. Sports Cards is a lifestyle.